I promised you 4 years ago that I would never lie to you, so I can't stand here tonight and say it doesn't hurt. The people of the United States have made their choice, and of course I accept that decision. But I have to admit, not with the same enthusiasm that I accepted the decision 4 years ago. I might say, I have a deep appreciation of the system, however, that lets people make the free choice about who will lead them for the next 4 years. About an hour ago, I called Governor Reagan in California, and I told him that I congratulated him for a fine victory. I look forward to working closely with him during the next few weeks. We'll have a very fine transition period. I told him I wanted the best one in history, and I then sent him this telegram, and I'll read it to you. It's now apparent that the American people have chosen you as the next president. I congratulate you and pledge to you our fullest support and cooperation in bringing about an orderly transition of government in the weeks ahead. My best wishes are with you and your family as you undertake the responsibilities that lie before you, and I signed it, Jimmy Carter. I have been blessed, as only a few people ever have, to help shape the destiny of this nation. In that effort, I've had your faithful support. In some ways, I've been the most fortunate of all presidents, because I've had the daily aid of a wise man and a good man at my side. In my judgment, the best vice president anybody ever had, Chris Mandel. I've not achieved all I set out to do. Perhaps no one ever does. But we have faced the tough issues. We've stood for and we fought for, and we have achieved some very important goals for our country. These efforts will not end with this administration. The effort must go on, nor will the progress that we have made be lost when we leave office. The great principles that have guided this nation since its very founding will continue to guide America through the challenges of the future. This has been a long and hard-fought campaign, as you well know, but we must now come together as a united and a unified people to solve the problems that are still before us, to meet the challenges of a new decade. And I urge all of you to join in with me in a sincere and fruitful effort to support my successor when he undertakes this great responsibility as president of the greatest nation on earth. Ours is a special country because our vast economic and military strength give us a special responsibility for seeking solutions to the problems that confront the world. But our influence will always be greater when we live up to those principles of freedom, of justice, of human rights for all people. God has been good to me, and God has been good to this country, and I'm truly thankful. I'm thankful for having been able to serve you in this capacity. Thankful for the successes that we have had. Thankful that to the end, you were with me in every good thing that I tried to do. There's an old Yiddish proverb that I've often thought of in the days and months that I've held this office. It says simply, God gives burdens, also shoulders. In all the days and months when I have served you and served this country, you've readily given me your shoulders, your faith, and your prayers. No man could ask any more of his friends. I've wanted to serve as president because I love this country and because I love the people of this nation.
We love you.
Just come over. Finally, let me say that I am disappointed tonight, but I have not lost either love. Thank you very much.
Tearful faces in this crowd. As the president has concluded a statement, he started out by being very frank. He said it hurts.
He did indeed, saying that, as he had said 4 years ago, he'd never lie to us, and he said he can't say now it doesn't hurt. But I thought it was really a most eloquent concession address. He talked about coming together to meet the challenges of the new decade. An eloquent call for unity, and an emotional one, too, as we saw with Mrs. Carter at his side. As he said, he has called Governor Reagan about an hour ago and congratulated him and said that he wanted to offer Governor Reagan the finest transition that this country had ever had. And, of course, he played tribute to Vice President Mondale, saying once again, as he has said so many times during this campaign and before, that Mondale is the best vice president any president ever had.
I think that's something we'll want to keep in mind as we think about the presidential election 4 years from now. I don't know where Jimmy Carter will be. I know there are some who wondered if perhaps he lost this election, he might be running again. What so many of the White House aides I'm talking to are saying now is they don't believe so. They do believe, as Mr. Carter has been saying recently, that this is his last political campaign and that he is most likely going to support Walter Mondale in 1984. We have no way of knowing. You're right, it's a long way away.
There's the president now just passing again Jesse Jackson. There's Jody Powell and Bob Strauss, the campaign manager for the president.
You noticed he said, I haven't done all I wanted to do. Perhaps no one ever does. But he said he felt blessed that he had had an opportunity to serve the country. I agree with you that it was an eloquent and an eloquently delivered statement.
There's a room nearby here. I think it's the cotillion room where I guess 100 or so tables are set up for what you might say the top flight Democrats, members of the cabinet and so forth, who were to meet there in what was hoped earlier would be some kind of a victory celebration, hoped earlier on the part of the Carter people. We are told that the president, most likely, he could change his mind, but probably would skip that and will go immediately back to the White House after he finishes his personal greetings here in the ballroom.
John, he seems to have come to grips with the feelings that we have talked about that he was displaying earlier in the day. He does seem to be he does seem to have those under control. He seems to be trying to put his best face forward for this audience. And I think it's a little bit ironic, frankly, that there are so many cheering supporters in here for this man who did have such a difficult time arousing, inspiring his supporters over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes, well, some people are now starting to file out. There's still the happy music playing, and the president is just about over to the side, just about ready now to leave the ballroom again after almost eloquent, what shall we say, concession speech, but I'm sure that pretty soon we'll be hearing from Governor Reagan, and he will give his point on his end of the conversation.
And I'm sure we haven't heard the end of this from the Carter campaign either. I mean, I'm sure there will be plenty of explanations and analyses and why it happened the way it did and why we weren't able to put it together. I'm sure they're going. In fact, we are told that tonight Press Secretary Jody Powell and Pat Caddell, who is the president's pollster, may hold a briefing to talk about why it didn't work. We now want to go to Walter Mondale at his headquarters in Minnesota.
Families, our congratulations. Now we must stand together behind our president-elect, all of us. We have only one president. He deserves our support, and he will have it. Obviously, I would rather have one. But I also see, as I think you do, a chance to rejoice. For we are, above all, thank God, privileged to live in a democracy. Today, all across this nation, in high school cafeterias, in town halls, in churches, in synagogues, the American people quietly wielded their staggering power and peacefully, without intimidation, made their choice. And whatever the outcome, tonight we celebrate above all the process we call American freedom. These last 4 years, and with your help, the American people have conferred on me the highest privilege I've ever held, a higher office than I ever expected to hold, and I am deeply honored to have served as Vice President of the United States. I especially want to thank President Carter and Rosalynn for their kindness to me and to Joan and to our family. This kind and good man, this president, has permitted me to work more closely with him than any vice president in American history, and I thank him profoundly for that experience. I have no regrets, for I've learned in this office, as I could in no other way, about our country's richness and our world's promise. I've been moved by the majesty of our continent, lifted by the strength of our people, buoyed by the gift of their wit, touched by the decency of their spirit, and stretched by the reach of their hope. And tonight I want to thank everyone here and people all across the nation for the support that you've given us. And above all, I want to thank the people of Minnesota for their magnificent and continuing trust and friendship. It is here that I've learned my values, from their joy, their compassion, their optimism, and their faith. But especially, I want to thank my family. If anybody is blessed, I am. I don't know how well the rest of us have done, but I'll tell you this, Joan has performed magnificently.